Hi you guys. The reason I'm making this video is because I would like to explain the story of everything I've been going through for the last, 10 or 20 years concerning my health. And it may help some of you out there who are going through the same thing I am. If you're dealing with allergies, asthma, acid reflux, and anxiety, I call it the 4 A's, which are what I've been dealing with for years, you may want to watch this video. It's very frustrating going from doctor to doctor, specialist doctors who have trouble diagnosing you, getting you the right medications, well, actually throwing you a lot of medications and not getting to the root of the problem. And one problem can lead to another. And for me, in 2023, I ended up in this place where I have all 4 things going on. The acid reflux, the allergies, the asthma, and the anxiety. And I'm treating all 4 of them, but I keep running from doctor to doctor and not finding answers. And I'm frustrated. Today I saw the allergist, the new one that I'm going to, and they sprung a pulmonary lung function test, which wasn't as good as the one I have at the pulmonary doctor's office. It's a little more simple handheld thing. Only to find out that apparently my lung exchange function, whatever they want to call it, is like 50%. Now, at my regular pulmonary doctor, it was 75% in the spring. So I'm thinking, how could we be going backwards that much when I'm treating all of these things? I'm beyond frustrated. I felt like saying to him, well, how soon am I going to die? Do we need to get me an oxygen tank? Is that where we're at? And he just kind of looked at me like, oh, no, you're not at that place. And I'm like, well, where am I? I am so frustrated. So let's go back in time. I've had allergies my whole life, but they were under control. I was never diagnosed with asthma or acid reflux growing up. I was controlling my allergies by trying not to detassel corn anymore. Being from Iowa, there's always crop dust in the fall, which was hard on me, and there's always spring allergies, but I was managing. So with medications, I was able to breathe fine and just deal with the problem. So let's go forward to about 2008. I was in an unhappy relationship. I started to put on weight. I was drinking Coca-Cola with this person every day. Didn't realize that it was kind of destroying my gut lining. I had put on 50 pounds. That can happen through the years if you're unhappy in an unhappy relationship. And the next thing I know, see, I'm clearing my throat. That's part of acid reflux, by the way, clearing your throat all the time and constant mucus. It's usually white mucus that you can find in your throat, on your vocal cords, up in your sinuses. And it's a chronic throat clearing problem that I didn't know I was developing. So I had gained like 50 pounds. I was eating processed food, going through drive-up windows, not taking care of myself, and drinking pop. And I found myself diagnosed with acid reflux. The next thing I know, I have an endoscopy where they take a camera down your throat into the stomach, look at your esophagus all the way down, go through your stomach and the upper intestine. And at that time, I found out that I didn't have any polyps. Everything looked clean, even though I was coughing and hacking away and taking medication. My lower esophageal sphincter, which is the LES valve, was lazy and not closing, which can happen to you as you're aging. But it can create a lot of problems. And a lot of people have unnecessary surgery on that when they could control some of it by losing weight and watching their diet. And a lot of surgeries can be prevented. So I did not have that surgery. Excuse me, clearing my throat again. This brought on a lot of anxiety. It only fueled my anxiety. Going back in time to the late 90s, I look back at what could contribute to asthma is back during the late 90s and prior to, people were allowed to smoke in public places, especially restaurants. And I was waiting tables in various restaurants for about 8 years, and people were allowed to smoke while I served their food to them. Little did I know that this was going to contribute to my asthma diagnosis years later. I had people they were eating fried chicken in one hand and smoking a cigarette in the other, and it was going in my face, and I was like, ugh. And breathing that in, causing inflammation into the airways, and then that would just contribute to my allergies and later on asthma. I would have changed jobs had I known that, but at the time I was a single mom without a college education, doing what I could to bring home the money, but creating future health problems for myself. Something to consider. Smoking it's terrible in so many ways, and that was, as a non-smoker, I've never had a cigarette my whole life. I'm still affected by secondhand smoke. So that played a factor into the current asthma diagnosis. So anyway, let's go up forward a little bit more in time. So I've had now, by 2023, I've had the reflux since 2008, been on medication most every day for that. And coming up into about August of 2019, I was a substitute teacher, which I'm still doing that kind of work. And I had an assignment, a month-long assignment in a classroom where I was helping a special needs student. And I sat at a table with him all day, not realizing the little throw rug that the teacher brought home from his house was loaded with dust mites. In fact, it was so old and so full of dust mites. It was when he finally did take the rug out, it disintegrated in his hands. And I told him, something's making me sneeze all day long in your classroom. I'm coughing. It set off a chronic cough for 30 days. I went through multiple bags of cough drops, and I believe this is a point where the possible asthma turned into, now you have asthma. It's triggered. And that cough, I finally left that classroom the end of September, but my cough went from the end of August till the middle of November. And I finally went to a pulmonary doctor. Finally got there after being treated for viral bronchitis, which my lungs really were clear. They couldn't figure it out. Regular doctors couldn't figure out the chronic cough. I had gone to a Carrie Underwood concert where it was like 26 degrees in late October, and I didn't have a scarf on. I was walking from a couple streets away, and I had a scary moment where I felt like I was breathing out of straws. My lungs the airways, and let's get it straight, not lungs, airways began to close up. And the guy I was dating, I said, I feel like this is a really bad thing. Excuse me, I need to get inside your jacket and warm my breath like this. And it opened my airways. It was just a natural instinct to do. By the way, if you have asthma and you don't have an inhaler yet, get some warm air into your lungs. And I began to panic. So that was the indication that the asthma was coming on, which also triggered the anxiety. And so I ended up getting into the concert and getting my airways open, and finally got the diagnosis of asthma in November, December-ish there from the pulmonary doctor, and got inhalers for that. So now my world came crumbling down, because I thought, how could I was 55 years old when I was diagnosed with asthma. And looking back, I had a couple other moments where I knew it was usually cold air, like walking in between buildings. Even with a scarf, I was like, oh, my airways feel tight. And that was scary. It's been scary. And so then I had to make it through COVID, which was terrifying because it's a respiratory disease. And I ended up losing my dad to COVID last summer, actually. And that was terrifying, going through that. And I miss him so much. During the last 2 years, I actually got RSV twice, which is a terrible thing. It's a respiratory virus that makes you feel like a bucket of slime has come from here straight down into your throat, down to the upper lungs and respiratory airways, clear down to the bottom of your lungs. And then I spent 6 weeks coughing up everything till it finally dissipated. And that was without any kind of vaccine available, just over-the-counter treatments and some steroids and things like that. So, coming up to this place where I am now, having lived through all of those diagnoses and the acid reflux, the allergies, the asthma, running back and forth with the chronic cough, throat clearing, mucus. It's dealing with being afraid to go sit in the back of church because if it's quiet, I might start coughing. Going to a restaurant and coughing and people going, ew, is that lady sick? Does she have like COVID or the flu? Or they don't really think asthma. They're thinking something they might catch. And that happens actually when you are anywhere in public. It's terrifying to go out with allergies or asthma because someone's going to, they do judge. Even I think, oh, do I need to stay away from that person? Because if they are really sick, I need to protect my lungs because I can't afford to be catching something with asthma. And so so where I'm at now is I'm getting ready to do some food allergy testing. And I think that what I have and what many of you might have, because you're thinking, especially if you got asthma later in life, how did I get this? How could I end up with asthma in my 50s? How did that just get sprung on me? It doesn't always happen like that, and it might not always be the kind of asthma you think it is. And I've been studying things from Dr. Jamie Kaufman, who's a wonderful online doctor who's discovered respiratory reflux and been treating people for that. And a lot of your main doctors, your allergy doctors, your asthma doctors, pulmonary doctors, regular family doctors, they look at you like, what is, I'm not sure if I've heard of respiratory reflux. You just need more pills. Not necessarily. How about actually treating the patient ask them, what are you eating? What are you eating and when are you eating and how are you sleeping? So, my acid reflux, I believe, actually brought on asthma. It's out of control, eating things you shouldn't eat, like tomato sauce, peppermint or mints, coffee. It's not always bad, but coffee could be an irritant. Those are things that actually go down and open up that LES valve that should be tight. It helps, it loosens it, and the fumes can come up and bring pepsin up and get stuck in your airways. I mean, it's like Velcro. And respiratory reflux is what it is. I mean, it actually comes up out of your stomach, the acids or the fumes, from foods that are acidic, that aren't pH balanced. They can attach themselves to the airways and cause inflammation, clear up into your throat. That's why when you hear people constantly going, I can't get it out. And it can actually cause a postnasal drip cough. And many people have sinus surgery and they don't even need it because this stuff comes and it drips back down your throat and you're clearing it. It affects your ears. Can affect your eyes. Many times I wake up with junk in my eyes because my sinuses are inflamed from the fumes. And I know if I've eaten the wrong things the night before, I'm going to wake up and be a complete mess. And the reason why I know is because I've been testing this. I did buy about 3 or 4 years ago an adjustable bed. It was the best purchase I've ever made because I could sleep on an incline. And I'm taking all the medications I'm supposed to. But what's really doing me in is eating improper food too late at night. You cannot eat past, let's say, 5:30 or 6. 7 o'clock is pushing it. You need to have a good 4 to 5 hours with no food in your stomach and sleep on an incline to not have this reflux going on. Otherwise, you're going to wake up in the night, you're going to suddenly be choking, you're going to cough on some acid that's come up. I don't know about you, but I've awakened in the night with a mouthful of acid and actually closing off my throat back here. It's terrifying. It can also cause sleep apnea. A lot of people don't realize that their sleep apnea is being caused by acid reflux. Food that's pushing on the valve. You should never go to sleep with a bunch of food in your stomach because those acid and fumes are going to come up your esophagus in the night and cause the coughing, and all of that. And then you're going to end up, it's just a vicious cycle. A vicious cycle. And so what I'm trying to do, I've taken the weight off, 40 pounds. I like another 10 pounds off. So I did my part with that. I'm on the medications they asked me to take. The one thing I can't seem to conquer is what I put in my mouth. I just can't seem to, I struggle with chocolate. It's my number one downfall, is if I see a candy bar or a brownie or a cookie with chocolate chips in it. And I journal this. I have a health diary I keep track of every day. In a second, within 15 to 30 seconds after I eat something chocolate, here it comes, the mucus and the cough and the throat clearing. But why do I do it again and again? Why? And I stopped the coffee drinks, so I've been off caffeine. I will sneak a decaf, acid-free now and then, but that's even pushing it. I have trouble with dairy. Dairy doesn't like me. It doesn't like most people. But I struggle with giving up cheese. I love cheese, and cheese for asthmatics is a mucus-producing thing. Anything that causes inflammation in the body is going to be something that could cause a lot of throat clearing. And when you are throat clearing, you know this is inflamed up here, but your airways will be too. So I don't appreciate it when a doctor says to me, "Wow, you got a lot of lung function issues, and I just don't think you could ever improve that." Want to make a bet? I did. I did when I went off coffee last spring. I went from 60-something lung function to 75. And normal lung function for someone without asthma is 80 to 100% use of your lung function. That's the transferring of air exchange. And then this guy's trying to tell me I'm 50-something function today. And I said, well, we are in the middle of crop cutting season. This weekend I had some tiramisu with espresso in it that I wasn't thinking about. I had cheese the last few days. I ate late at night. I had a glass of wine, and I rarely do that because I mostly never drink, but once in a while I'll have one with a friend. And that was a mistake. And then now I'm in your office and I have bad lung function. That does not mean it's like that forever. It doesn't. And you don't have to believe that, because I'm going to go through something to prove that I'm going to turn this around. And listen, just because someone says you have asthma and that you're never going to get better and you're probably going to decline and here's more medications, you don't have to believe that. You don't have to be stuck with that. And I said, the other thing is we haven't factored in that God can do a healing in anybody's body. So yes, I did mention God and my faith, and that I am responsible for what I'm putting in my mouth, and I can change my destiny. So can you. So I don't have to live the rest of my life with allergies so bad forever, acid reflux, asthma, anxiety. I can turn that ship that's going the wrong direction back the right direction. And I'm going to leave no stone unturned until I figure out the health issues that I've actually dumped on myself. And yes, I did it from years of bad eating. I wasn't a smoker or a drinker. Never done drugs either. And I'm not blaming anybody who's tried those things or who's still struggling with those things. But I did put a lot of bad food in my mouth. And I was in a bad environment that I didn't realize was going to hurt me later. Waiting tables in a smoky environment. But I refuse to accept that this is the end of the line for me at age 58. I just, no. I will try everything I can, and you should too. So consider the diet, acid-free, low inflammation diet. If anything, it's good for all of us to be eating that healthy anyway. But I'm just not gonna give up hope. You should never give up hope. You wouldn't tell someone with cancer to give up hope. Someone with any other disease or ailment, you wouldn't say, well, it's too bad, just give up. No, there's always hope for everybody. And so that's some of the things that I'm going to post on my YouTube channel, because I've struggled for, at least coming up on 20 years. and I'm still here and I'm still battling it, but I think I have a new way to maybe solve this. And you can too. So I'm here for you. If you're dealing with any of that, feel free to comment, and I will post again later about it, but I'm about ready to make some more huge big changes. Okay, God bless you guys. Talk to you soon.